My name is David Black, and this is the second in a series of videos for Photopea, the browser-based image editing software. Since I made the last video, I found out that the correct pronunciation is Photopea, not Photopea. Sorry about that. I guess you learn something every day, or at least you should. Today's video will introduce you to the Type tool, also how to use different types of selection tools, and how to create alpha channels. We'll use the Type tool to create memes, titles for your video projects, and other types of text effects that you can use for your science media projects. Let's get to it. We have loaded up an image in Photopea, and what I'm going to do is add some text to it. First though, let's set this up to be about the right size for the card that we want. I'm going to create some guidelines. I've turned on the rulers, and now I'm going to drag out some guidelines from the left so that I can constrain the size here. And then I'll use the crop tool and adjust the size of this grid to become what I want it to be. Match up those guidelines, and then I'll press return to finalize. Oops, looks like I got a little bit too much here. Now I can go up and choose view and clear the guides if I don't want to see them anymore. Now that I've got this picture, this is an image of Kepler 22b. This will be the front of a trading card for exoplanets, and what I'm going to do is put some text on top of it. Now that I've cropped this image, I can see that it's got a lot of pixels by looking at the rulers here. So I'm going to go in and turn down the image size, but keep the resolution high. This is under Image, and then Image Size. So I'll change this. Let's make this 300, which is a good dots per inch for printing. And then I'll make the inches dimensions exactly what I want it to be. So I'm going to make this 2.5 inches wide. So I'll go ahead and say OK. I've made it a little bit smaller than it was. I'm using Command plus to zoom in on it. Too far. OK, now let's use the Type tool. I click on it, and up here the options bar changes. It's picked a font here, or I've picked a font called Photopea 1. And if I go in and click on this, it shows the names of the fonts and then gives you a preview of what they look like. OK, I'll go ahead and type, which is Kepler 22b. And it's a small case b. And say OK. Now that's a little bit light. That's because the opacity setting over here in the layers menu is just 22%. I'm going to turn this up to 100. There we go. I can take the layer move tool and move this around because this is on a separate layer. It's created a type layer now. Now as I move this around, that little red bar showed up, which means it's locking into the center of the image. And this is a good font. It's nice and solid, but it's also rounded, so it's not boring like, say, an Arial font. I do want to add a layer effect, which is going to be a drop shadow. Now to do this, we go to the very bottom down here of the layers palette, and you see this little button that says F, EFF. I choose on it, and it's got the basic lists of different types of effects that I can do. I'll choose drop shadow, and it opens up the layer style menu here. And drop shadow is currently selected. In addition to creating a drop shadow, the layer effects palette can be used for a variety of interesting effects. It's not my purpose today to try to teach you all of them. There are a lot of great tutorials available out there for Adobe Photoshop that can be easily adapted for Photopea, such as fire letters, carved wood, or metallic effects. But what if I want to use text in a video and have it fade in and out against a background that's already there? For that, it kind of depends on the video software that you're using. If you're using Adobe Premiere, then you can create an alpha channel that goes with your text. An alpha channel is a grayscale image that determines the transparency of the master image. Where the channel is white, the main image shows. Where the channel is black, it becomes transparent. But Adobe Premiere costs money. You pay for these additional capabilities. To do something like a title, I'm going to go ahead and open up a new file. Brings me in here. I can choose the size of the project. Let's give it a name here, and I'll say titles. And then if I choose inches, let's make this like 8 inches wide and 6 inches tall, and to make it fairly good resolution, 300. And right now I'll set the background to be black. Okay, now I'll go ahead and say create. And what I have now is just a black screen. I'm zooming in with Command plus on my Mac. Now what I want to do is choose text, make sure I've got the font that I want. I mean, the Photopea 1 font will work for us. Let's make the size here a little bit bigger. Say 120, make it white. Again, everything looks good here. I'll click, and what do we want to say? Well, I'm going to put my name. Now, if I want to, if I double click, now I've already said OK and finalize it by clicking on the layer, by clicking on the Move tool and moving it around. That basically drops the text down. But you also say OK by clicking on the check mark. But if I want to go back into it and edit it, all I have to do is just double click the T here on the Layers palette. So I'm clicking there, Digital Media Maestro, which is befitting the size of my ego. Most video software won't be able to read Photoshop files that have multiple layers. So what I can do is save this with an alpha channel, or I could save this as a transparent PNG file. Okay, let me show you how to do an alpha channel. But first, I'm going to go ahead and flatten the image. So I choose up here the layer menu and then just choose Flatten Image. Now all there is a background, but it has white text on it. If I want to create an alpha channel, then I will choose the Magic Wand tool. I'll make sure the tolerance is pretty good, 30 is about right, and also make sure that contiguous is turned off. It's not checked. Contiguous means that when you click on it, it only chooses the pixels of that color until it reaches another color outside the tolerance that you've set. If I have it turned off, it means that it's going to select all of the pixels of that color in the entire image. So now clicking on my white here, you can see the marching ants are now going around the outside of the white everywhere in the image. And now all I have to do is to choose Select and Save Selection. Okay, having done that, I can go to the Channels palette, and it's got the RGB channel, the separate red, green, and blue channels, and then now it says Alpha 1. If I double click on that, there we go. And now if I were to go ahead and save this as a PSD, that alpha channel would be saved with it. Now I can save this the way this is as a JPEG and then use the black background to key off of it using a chroma key filter in Wevideo or some other video software. Another option would be to use a transparent PNG. Let me show you how to do that. So to create transparency in a single layer image, what I have to do is first create another layer, actually. So I've selected my white text. I'm going to copy it with Command C and then use Command V to paste it, which now puts it in another layer. Now this layer is not a type layer. It's just a regular layer. So the text is just pixelated. I can't go in and edit it at this point. But what I want to do is basically get rid of the background layer. So I'll just drag that down to the trash can. And what I'm left with here is just a single layer with a white text on it and then a transparent background which shows up as this checkerboard grid pattern. Now I should be able to go in and save this as a PNG file. So if I say File and then Export As, one of the options here is PNG. So we are now in Wevideo, which is the video software that I want to teach you. I've already imported the title here, which is of course David V. Black, Digital Media Maestro. Let me show you how to go about putting this over the top of an image. So I'm just going to pick this bacterial cell picture. I'm going to drag it down here to the Video 1 timeline and then drag this out. Now I'm going to drop this title on top of it. And I can stretch out how long it is. Moving this over to the middle of it, you can see now that my name is showing up over the top of the image. There are many times when you want to use text in your science media projects. That's why I'm dedicating an entire video to the process. Here are some examples. Wevideo is an online tool for doing a lot of different things. One of the things you can do here is create memes. So if I choose meme here in the main menu, it allows me to upload a file. Let's say that I would like to bring in a picture of Erwin Schrödinger, the founder of quantum mechanics. Now when it brings this in, it's going to crop the image to a square, so it's cutting off the top of Erwin's head and a little bit of the bottom here. Now to be able to put in the font, obviously I don't want to have text over the top of his forehead, so you can just choose the template, and I'm going to put the text just down at the bottom here, so I'll choose that one. Then all I have to do is type this in. So I could say, dude, where's my cat? For obvious reasons. We can do crop options here if we want to, so it doesn't crop him quite so badly. And that's about it. Now if you want to do other things like resize the text or change the color of it, those options aren't here. So that's where Photopea is ideal. So I have opened up the Schrödinger photo here in Photopea. What I'm going to do is choose the type tool, and then we'll need to come up here and pick a font that's appropriate for doing a meme. Great Lakes looks like a good one. So I'm going to choose that font. So now we have an appropriate saying. Now that looks pretty good, but I think I would like to put a black outline around this. So let's try that out. To put an outline around this text, you select the text, and then come up to the option bar. There's this little button here that has 3 dots, and I can choose stroke. Turn that on. Okay, so I've got white for the fill color, black is the stroke color, and I can turn up the size of it to make it a little bit thicker. Let's increase this to 4 pixels. Okay, makes the outline a little bit more easy to see. And if we want to, we can even come over here and add a layer effect such as a drop shadow. So that's looking pretty good. And I have myself a nice meme. The tools and effects that I've shown you today are just the beginning of what you can do with Photopea. As I like to say, the possibilities are endless for using high-quality text in your science media projects. Well, thank you for listening, and keep on learning.